Everybody, what is going on? It is Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you're watching or listening in from. Special edition of Crypto Happy Hour tonight with three of my favorite dudes in the crypto world, Prince, Killer, and Crypto Dale from Crypto Street Podcast. Looking forward to kicking this episode off and hanging out for the next little bit of time. What's going on, guys?
I love
Yo,
that
yo.
introduction. You are
Very
just
nice.
on top of it. You're going.
Always.
So much better than mine. Blew it out of the water.
I haven't practiced.
I was
ever.
thinking, I was like, Bobby, you're good. You're crushing this intro. Like, I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, damn, he's good at this. Very good.
I try.
Now I see why you get way more listeners than we do.
No, never. And just a quick heads up to anybody who's watching this now and or the recording too. You guys can't see the guys from Crypto Street Podcast, but you can see my face, and it is red as shit. And that is because I got sunburned at the Jets game. So please excuse me. I'm not drunk. I wish I was. I could probably use some booze to like just cool this off, but I'm drinking water. But yeah, it's red from the Jets game. So sorry about that.
How was that?
I was gonna say, let's just dive into that quick. You know, we got two Jets fans on here, and Bobby and Killer. And after week one, I had never heard so much shit talking from the both of you. We're going to the Super Bowl. We're so awesome.
I never said we're going to the
blah.
Super Bowl, but I still have a Woody for Sam Darnold. Don't even.
Yeah.
Same.
See, and
Yeah,
I'm
that
a
first
Bears
game he
fan.
had was like he rocked it. He
Yeah,
cost
dude,
me
he
a
killed
lot of
it.
money
He killed
on
it.
that. And I got to give him respect. He fucking had a great game. But
He looks legit. I don't care what you say. He's the
Yeah.
future. He's the next Joe Namath. He's the next Tom Brady. I am all in on the Sam Darnold train. You won't talk me
Yeah.
out of it.
You know what? That's great though. And to be honest, like I said, I'm a Bears fan. Was watching the first half of the game before we started recording tonight, and I was just watching him. And to be completely honest, I'm not shitting you. Like some of the throws he had, I just thought, "Fucking
Yeah.
hell, he is
he's
not
only
Sam Darnold."
21. He's only
Dale,
21.
I got some bad news for you. Mitch Trubisky is not the guy. And
No, I
missing on a
completely
franchise
agree.
QB is the worst thing that could happen to a franchise because they all want to give the guy 4 to 5 years, even if he sucks.
Yeah.
Welcome
Wanna
to Mark
justify.
Sanchez 2.0.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I was thinking.
You know
about
what? If he
Well-
could get us to 2 NFC Championship games in a row, like the Sanchez
Oh, no.
did,
Hold up. The Jets made those despite Sanchez, not because of him. They had a top-tier running game, an amazing offensive line, and a top 10 defense. Although, I get
Well-
what you're saying, but Sanchez sucks.
you got to remember too, the
Overstood.
Bears were led to the last Super Bowl by sexy Rex Grossman. So
How'd that go?
Top tier
we
QB.
lost. But we made it.
We made it.
That's all that matters to me.
Prince is
Um,
being solicited fantasy football trades.
Yeah,
in
I
the
got
chat.
people trying to get me to make trades as we're talking here in the chat. I got lucky. Bitcoin Dad dropped Wentz, put him on waivers. I saw that. And I was like,
Shut up. He
yeah, I got a
did?
spot on my bench. I'll take that.
What the hell? Come on,
So-
Bitcoin Dad.
Dinesh,
Yeah,
can we
so-
talk about the market if you are all down? Actually, the NFL is playing right now, so there is no crypto market. This is now a NFL podcast. I'm very sorry to disappoint you.
Here, now I got
We'll be back in
I got
February.
my opponent from fucking fantasy this week coming in chirping me. Of course, I lost this week. He's coming in hot here. Oh god, I can't. I can't even. Oh,
If we
Can't
are
even.
gonna chat crypto, dare I bring up Tezos?
oh lord.
Mainnet
Oh
today.
God.
Hashtag
Important
I have a bag.
BitMEX today. Yeah. I was gonna say mainnet surprised me because it's early. They forecasted by the end of this month, and then
Yeah.
Bitfinex was completely out of left field for me. That I did not see that coming at all.
I'm just wondering when Binance is going to come around. To me, Bitfinex is tough. Like, there's a lot of money that trades on there, but there's also just a lot of like dead markets on there too.
Yeah.
So it's like I'd like to see it on Binance. Like, and I think it'll probably come at some point here now that mainnet's gone.
You would
Hey, and off the beat, Prince, you said Binance correct twice, so good job.
I actually had to like think about it before I said it because I was like, this asshole Dale's gonna like chirp me for it, and I'm just gonna feel like an idiot again. And he's gonna make me all self-conscious, So I was paying
DC.
attention to it. Yeah.
Sorry, Bobby.
No, I was gonna say you would think like, you know, Tezos being top 15, top 20 market cap coin would have a decent shot of having a Binance listed, especially now that it's mainnet too. Like, also
Well, yeah.
considering I have a bag of it, please, CZ,
Like,
please, my
I,
Tezos.
I don't think like the foundation or anything is actively pursuing exchange listings, and I think they have a lot of legal drama always going on. So I think there's reasons for it. But I just to me it's hard to imagine it doesn't get listed on Binance at some point because it's all about them fees, right? CZ knows, make some extra fees, let's go, right? And people want to trade it. I have no doubt it'll do well there. Good volume. So
Yeah, I
Thing
think
is,
it is
too,
just a matter of time with Tezos. I mean, it's so well known, and I don't, CZ came out one time and said that he doesn't necessarily charge all the crypto a fee to list, and I have a sneaky feeling that Tezos would be one of those.
yeah.
So here's the deal with Tezos is like the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking Tezos and Bitfinex are a match made in heaven because Tezos is currently undergoing some lawsuits right now. And one of the tenets of that lawsuit is whether or not Tezos was an illegal securities offering. And so with that hanging in limbo, I think legitimate exchanges like Poloniex or Bittrex now are going to be super hesitant to list it. So Bitfinex being this sort of exchange with a lot of volume, but off the beaten path a little bit with the whole tether thing, they're kind of people who, kind of toe the line in terms of what is a
Yeah.
gray area legally. And so it kind of makes sense that Tezos would go there, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. I mean, I think Binance is going to be tough just because I think Binance is becoming like KYC and legitimate enough for a little bit. I mean, they don't require KYC, but I think that's the direction Binance is headed. They're so in the public eye that I kind of find it hard to
Yeah.
believe that they'll keep doing
I hope
things.
not. Oh, it's like it's one of those things where you think it probably is coming at some point, but I also think CZ is like, I think I don't think he wants to go that direction. If he can avoid it, I fully believe that he will try to, avoid that if he can. He's kind of the true crypto, right?
I also think too, I mean, the KYC stuff that they have at like there are a couple different reasons I think, at least in my opinion, like why Binance has just come out of nowhere in like a year to like 13 months and crushed it. Number one is the ref links. Like the ref links are, no matter what anybody wants to say, ref links matter, and like especially when it's recurring fees, people push them there. And then also no KYC for 2 BTC daily withdrawal. Like that's a ton of money that you can basically withdraw and not have to KYC at all for, and that matters too. I mean, Binance to Shapeshift, although Shapeshift is now KYCing, or they will be KYCing in the future. Binance to Shapeshift, where did that money go? I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, it's changing. What do you guys think right now about the market in general? Let's hear some thoughts, some Bitcoin price action.
Let's hear what you think about the markets or alts or Bitcoin or all the above.
I would say, I mean, right now Ethereum is dragging alts down, and kind of continues to look that way. I bought a decent amount at 185. I didn't time the bottom perfectly. I also didn't sell the little short
fucking entry though, man.
Yeah, but now we're at 197, so it's not that far off. But I just like the sentiment in regards to Ethereum, and then in regards to like DApps in general, and like basically all ERC20 tokens is so bad, or was so bad, and is still like that range. Like I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go in and see what happens. Worst case scenario, I'll set a stop loss and punch myself in the face for it. But I mean, it really capitulated hard. I think some of the narrative around ICOs is a little bit like overplayed. But then there's also like the lack of ICOs. I think there was some. I tweeted something today. It was from like ICOdata.io or something like that. But it was like basically that just fall off a cliff of actual token sales that have happened and the money that's been raised. And I do think that like maybe in some cases even more so than the sell-offs from companies that have raised, but the lack of ICOs that are actually raising capital right now outside of just the private markets. And the private markets in a lot of cases, they're not participating in that with Ethereum or with ETH. They're participating in those ICOs with USD or with fiat. So the huge kind of demand that's gone from that.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation to me because you want to think, okay, Ethereum's had a pretty intense crash, and yeah, sure, you like to think we've gone through our capitulation phase now, and I think we've seen a lot of people coming out calling for a bottom, which always sketches me the hell out. But it's still, to me, it is so tied to what Bitcoin does. It doesn't matter how much Ethereum's gotten crushed. If Bitcoin's going to go and make new lows, Ethereum's probably going to go make new lows with it. So to me, it's all what is Bitcoin going to do, right? And we're sitting in such a crucial zone down here. It's it's been pretty tried and tested support. So let's just, fingers crossed we don't break it, because that would not be fun. But yeah, to me, it's all up in the air. It just depends. What is Bitcoin going to do?
Do you guys think the sentiment has shifted a little bit too quickly to bullish from this 9 months of bearishness we've had?
Absolutely.
It always
I
does.
think, yeah,
Any little
and I
rally.
think,
Easy, right?
It's every time.
people are, you get
Yeah.
a 2 to 3% increase in anything, and I think people are so ready for a bull run that they want to call it, and they want to be the first to call it. And
Yeah.
and in my opinion, until that sentiment leaves, I just can't see us busting out of it.
I found it interesting. There was a lot of bottom calls for Ethereum, and it's like, I like to think, yeah, if Bitcoin can hold up, then frick yeah, to me, there's a good chance that might have been. But to me, I just don't know. I don't know. It's like,
See, I feel like we're still in like the hee this is bearish, like we're all getting wrecked phase, when we need to get to the actual phase where people are like, oh fuck, like I gotta find a job again, or like shit.
and I think that's where
I made nothing. I don't think we're there yet, really.
Yeah, I don't think we're there yet until Bitcoin itself starts,
Yeah.
getting hit, because everything, it's tough to find any crypto assets that are uncorrelated to Bitcoin's movements. Everything, it's kind of like the myth, right? It's like, they're like, well, diversify your portfolio in crypto, right? And it's like, well, I don't know how good diversifying is going to do you in a bear market, because there's just a whole lot of correlation. It's, it's not like things go their different routes. And until then, it's kind of a tough thing to think, oh, let's go diversify. You have to be diversifying in other markets almost. So
Yeah, I think every once in a while, I mean, there's pumps across the board. I think people have been posting a few different alts that have moved like 30, 40, 50%, whatever in the past week or two. And if you're in a perfect position, yeah, you can catch them. But for the most part, everything is going to follow Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes up, alts will go up probably more. Bitcoin goes down like today, then you're going to see alts, drop even further. I mean, it's basically a tried and true pretty much across the board.
It's tough, right? It makes trading Ethereum a lot of fun, because it's almost as if, if Bitcoin's going to move something, a certain percentage, you could pretty much bet that Ethereum's going to be at least double that percentage in its movement. So it makes, it's like you got the swap now on BitMEX, and it's just wonderful to trade, right? But thing is it's awesome too, because you really don't need much leverage at all for it, because the moves are just so crazy. All you need is 2x and you're good. You go.
One funny thing that I've seen recently, and I don't know if you guys have seen it a bunch too, but not only just the negative feedback about just the bearish market in general, and I know everybody jokes around about how crypto Twitter has gotten so salty recently, but there is a ton of salt about BitMEX in particular, specifically regarding the price of Ethereum, because they added the ETH perpetual swaps. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it makes me laugh that everybody now all of a sudden hates BitMEX.
Yeah, you look at the chart, it was just pretty much just straight down since it got added, which is vicious, but that's what happens, right? I guess you get those added, the derivatives markets going, and you get some leverage in there, and
it's Arthur's fault that everyone gets liquidated.
BitMEX pushes a lot of volume, right? Some heavy freaking weight goes through there, so doesn't surprise me. They've become one of the top trading platforms, exchanges, derivative spots, futures in the industry, really. And so a lot of people go there, a lot of players, right?
So, Bobby, this is hard for me to believe, but we last had you on January 31st of this year, or we
Whoa.
last
Holy
chatted with
shit.
you. So, yeah, crazy, right? Is there anything in terms of your larger thoughts or bigger kind of big picture thoughts on crypto that has changed for you in the past 8 months or so?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I even remember too, now that I'm thinking back to it, I think Prince called, what was it, like a four? It was that time frame. It
45.
was like when Bitcoin dropped from 20K, and I think we're at like 8 or 9 thousand bucks, and that was after like a huge dump from like 12K. And Prince was like,
Yeah.
Max Payne 4K, and we're all like,
Yeah.
yo, get out of here, bro.
I had a
And
bunch of people chirping me, calling me an asshole, everything.
we've been sitting under 10K since like 1995 now, so
Yeah.
that's been fun.
It's been 84 years.
Yeah, that
Oh, that's a great
So
great
Prince,
meme.
what Bobby's getting at is it's time for you to say 15, 16K
I
right
can't
now.
yet. Can't.
Please,
Sorry.
sir, my
I
bags.
can't.
My family.
Yeah.
Not
My
yet.
family, please.
Not yet.
I mean, I would say like the one thing that's changed probably for me is I think you're starting to see like maybe a little bit more like intelligent valuations around some of these cryptocurrencies, and you're starting to see
Yeah.
some projects that were just trying to solve a problem that maybe didn't exist, and you're seeing like a lack of pickup around that. And I think that's something that a lot of people point to with like DAP Radar and some of the other ones where there's like minimal volume on a lot of these, Ethereum, on a lot of these Ethereum DApps. So I think, a lot of the narrative around like decentralization has kind of pulled off, and you're starting to see like this reconvening of like Bitcoin maximalism, which is kind of interesting because for the most part there's that core group of like legit no BS Bitcoin maximalists who will only touch Bitcoin ever, and that's and those guys are legit. And then there's also the kind of shitcoiners that are wrecked right now, and all of a sudden are trashing all the shitcoins because they got wrecked and are now like Bitcoin maximalists of the month. And I think it's like an interesting cycle to watch, and I don't think it's going to be the last time we'll see this. I think I feel like there's probably, I mean, where we're at just like market cap wise, you're going to probably see at least like one more crazy run that'll blow people's faces off. I don't know when that will actually be, but it'll be interesting to see kind of the people that have like switched back and forth on like this whole Bitcoin maximalism thing, or have like kind of become fake Bitcoin maximalists in the past like month, 2 months, 3 months. What
and
they
it
do.
is. It's like you said, it's totally cyclical and it's whatever's making them money and vice versa, not losing them as much money, right? So it's whatever's convenient at the time. And so you saw, right? Like it's all cyclical and it's tied directly to the market pretty much in its action. And if alts are hot, well, all the altcoin maximalists, they're coming out hot, right? And the market starts to dump. They lose 60, 70, 80, 90% of their portfolio. And they're like, okay, time to go to something a little less volatile in a volatile world, and so then they become Bitcoin maximalists. And then that'll change again, as soon as the market kind of turns around. It's like, oh, there's more money to be made again in alts than just holding Bitcoin at the moment. And it's like you said, they'll flip-flop everywhere, and it's whatever's most convenient at the time, whatever's not losing the money.
Yes, and it's almost like these are the, to me, these are the people that are really good at, a lot of them that I've seen have a lot of followers, so they're really good at marketing purposes, so to say. And I think they're kind of going with the times. There's nothing wrong with being in USDT when the market's uncertain like this, just to kind of sit on the sidelines and watch. And you don't, like Prince, you always say, sometimes no position is a position. So
yeah, absolutely. Like just sitting in cash, it's like you're not going to lose that value. It's not going to fluctuate like it would be if you're in Bitcoin, but you're also not going to make anything from it. But it's a position. I don't care what anyone says. Sure, it's not going to be growing much for you, but you got stability. So
Bobby, what's your experience been like on the way down? Because the last time we talked to you was when like we were all kind of wondering, like, is this the top? And with hindsight, it clearly was.
Yeah.
Like, what have the last like 7 or 8 months been like for trading or investing, or just from your perspective?
So, I mean, I was probably overexposed at certain points to shitcoins, and have like reallocated a good bit of my portfolio to more probably 50+% Bitcoin at this point in time. That's definitely something that I've tried to just cut my losses on better scenarios, and also like kind of Prince said, not being afraid to be in cash and to have money on the side and like ready to go. That's one of the things that I've done, I think, a lot better of a job at recently, because in 2017 it was terrible to be in cash. Like it was, you were just missing out on opportunity after opportunity. Now it's actually not the worst thing in the world. Not making money is better than losing money. And it's also been a decent, there's been opportunities, I think, at least that I've seen where even like on this Ethereum sell off to like 170 or 160 or whatever it was, I had cash on the sidelines ready to go. And I went in at like 185, went up to 220. I didn't sell anything, which was dumb on my part, but now we're at 197, so still not the worst thing in the world. But I think just like having cash ready to go on the side, not being overexposed to any particular shitcoins in general is a pretty decent thing. And then also just like I've made some like higher conviction bets as well. I mean, I think Bitcoin is definitely the thing that I have the most confidence in, but also there's some other plays that I have that may or may not end up working out, but Tezos is one of those plays. I've kind of been stacking Tezos for like the past month to 2 months, just like in preparation for mainnet, in preparation for it actually getting on some of these other exchanges,
and the staking
like BitMEX. And baking the Tezos, like it's pretty legit too. So that's like one of my larger conviction plays at this point in time, just because like I look at the valuation of something like Neo, Ethereum Classic, like Cardano, some of these other platforms that I think like Tezos can compete with, and the valuation is quite a bit lower than that. So I feel like that's a decent move in me for this point too.
Yeah, and one thing that really stuck when we had Loops on a couple weeks ago, one thing that stuck with me is, he said in the bear markets you have to preserve your capital, because if you continually ride something down and down and down, and then when the market does turn around, like he said, I think it was something like, you're not going to have shit to
you can't buy the bottom.
put back in. So you can't buy any bottom if you're locked into everything. And that's really stuck with me, I think. So that was good hearing that from you also.
I think a lot of people made that mistake though, because it's like on the way up, you might find a shit coin,
100%.
and like I think deep in your head, it's shit, but you like make a story where you're like you justify your own investment, and you like read bullish things, and then at the end of it, you're like, oh yeah, I made the right choice, because it's all about like preserving your mental fortitude and your confidence. And I think that's naturally a human trait, is we try to justify things we do, even if we might take a step back and say, hey, that was stupid. But I think a lot of this bear market has been trying to disillusion myself from a lot of these stories I convinced myself of with different coins. And that's tough though, because it's hard unconvincing yourself of an opinion you were sure you had 4 months ago.
And one thing too, I think that at least that I've learned in the bull market, is a lot of the volume either isn't real or will quickly evaporate. And there are some like ERC20 tokens that I got off IDEX when things were hot or when the volume was good. Shout out Sen. Like there are ERC20 tokens that that are in my portfolio, or that were in my portfolio, and it's like, if you have like $5,000, you can crash the market like 15% if you can't even sell it. Like there's no volume. You're literally just you're stuck in the position, which is the worst thing in the world. And like in December or January, when the volume was a couple $1 million a day, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. Now it's like $50,000 a day. It's not fun.
Well, it's really interesting too that you touch on the volume kind of topic. Is now we've had some extremely low volume days coming out here, some of the lowest volume days in like freaking months, a long time. And it's interesting because it's as Hong Kong is getting hit with this insane storm, and it's all so to me it's very tied to that. The volume has just died right down since that storm went in, and so it kind of shows just how much sway they have on the market.
Somebody asked earlier in the chat, BitMEX, good or bad for crypto?
I think it's they got a nice insurance fund, that's for sure. I don't think it's good.
I think
or
it depends
bad.
on the user.
To me it's just it's an exchange, and
I think
I
I
don't
think
know.
good or bad for crypto is like it's we're still at the stage where like any exposure is good. I think net. So anything that draws anybody to crypto, whether it be
You know,
gambling, trading, I think
yeah,
it's
like Dale said, it depends on the user, right? Because like obviously, it could be very bad in the sense that maybe it lets people just get a little too reckless at times with the leverage.
Like
But
me.
yeah, but at the same time, I think
Congrats.
like a lot of people are like, they're looking at it in the sense of, oh, well, as soon as Ethereum got on it, then it just, price completely crashed. And, that stuff it's going to happen regardless. It doesn't matter if it's on BitMEX, OKCoin, a different futures exchange. It's to me, it's the way it goes. It's going to happen. That stuff they're going to find. There's going to be an exchange that they'll kind of work from. And right now, it's BitMEX. They push a ton of volume. They have a lot of liquidity, right? So it's easy for players to get in and out there and do their thing. But not long ago, it was OKX doing their thing. So it just, to me, it doesn't really matter. It's just there's always going to be somewhere that, maybe people will be loading up for the moves on leverage at. And now we even got the CME stuff going on too. So, people will trade there as well, right?
I mean, I think, yeah, like echoing your thoughts there, I think it leads to kind of, in some cases, just more efficient price discovery. When you can only long an asset, like, you can only long an asset, you can only long Tron, then, Tron's going to do well for a while. And then when you add the Tron market to BitMEX, or when you add ETH perpetuals, like highly liquid ETH perpetual swaps to BitMEX, and there's liquidity there to short something, then that's probably going to be an efficient measure of like what the market demand actually is, when it's not just like long only or in a liquid futures contract or whatever it might be. So just because I think it probably is a more efficient price discovery, but that price discovery doesn't always mean it's going to pump your bags, unfortunately. So a lot of people don't necessarily like it, or at least recently don't like BitMEX because of that.
Yeah, there's a little more reality in play with them there. So, but yeah, I think like that was nail on the head right there. Which the points you brought up. So it's more price discovery, efficiency, everything. That's really what it does come down to.
I think it could end up wrecking a lot of people, but I think people need to realize that you need to be experienced trader to trade on BitMEX, and then even after you're experienced, you need even more experience before you use leverage. So I think you need to take it with a grain of salt. And
it's tricky because you almost want to say, like, when someone's getting into it, just learn by failing, go out there, fall on your face, take those high leverage trades and learn your lessons quick and get it over with. Because I think at the end of the day,
you're just saying that so that they keep using your ref link and depositing Bitcoin.
I don't have a ref link, Dick. I ain't about that life. But no, it's unless you're a very disciplined individual, you're probably going to be going on there and taking some high leverage trades. It's how it is, right? It's going to intrigue you. You're going to be like, ooh, let's see how this goes, right? And then, hopefully you're not doing that with any serious size. And then you'll probably, at some point you'll be like, okay, well, this is kind of, I want to be able to live my life a little bit, go outside while I have a position open. So, let's knock that leverage down, right? You don't really need to go over 3x, stuff like that. And even 3x, like Christ, depending on what you're trading, 3x is a ton. Like Ethereum, you trading that perp there, 3x is a lot of leverage. You're getting a pretty good move.
I beg to differ, Prince. I think 3x is for losers and cowards.
Ethereum, I think Ethereum moved down.
25x or bust.
The last candle was like an 11% move downward.
We got
last day,
we
right?
got an 11.2%.
Yeah, like you got 3x leverage, you got a 33% move right there. So that's tons. You don't need much more.
Why do you have to be so responsible when we want to use leverage?
Yeah, we're not on BitMEX because we want to go 2x, Prince. Like we would go to somewhere else for that.
So
sorry guys.
Another question. I don't know if you guys have talked about this a bunch, but odds of the ETF approval in 2 weeks. I got my thoughts, but would love to hear your guys' thoughts.
Honestly, I don't know if I'm qualified to comment.
Yeah, I don't really got any thoughts.
I think this one is more. Is this the Solid X Van Eck one?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yep.
So this one is more likely than the others, but I feel like we've tried to convince ourselves every single one will get approved, and they haven't. So maybe not. What do you think, Bobby? I think you probably have a better opinion
Yeah.
Yeah,
than me, at least.
so from everything I know, the Solid X like VanEck ETF is the best shot of getting approved out of all the ETFs we've seen so far. But pretty much every ETF decision so far has been pushed back until the maximum delay that they can possibly do. And it's basically been turned down on the last day. And the VanEck Solid X ETF it can be pushed back for approval until February of 2019, like mid-late February. So anybody who's like pumping this right now saying like, yo, the ETF's going to get approved, there's no shot in hell, at least in my opinion, and I would bet money on that, that it's going to get pushed back until they're going to wait all the way until February, at least for this one, to evaluate it, and then like just get the maximum time to do research and do due diligence on it, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think there's a shot in hell that it gets approved. It'll get pushed back, I think.
I agree.
It's tough right now. I think the whole ETF situation, it's tricky. The regulators don't really know what to do. It's still a lot of just hands in the air, like, okay, I don't know. Let's just sit back and watch a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I think the regulators are they're still unsure enough with this stuff that they're going to push back every single opportunity they get because they want more time.
It's still interesting to me too how everyone anticipates that it's going to get denied. All these ETFs previously are going to get denied, and then the price just dumps like crazy.
Yes,
it's just wild. It's wild.
I was gonna say somebody commenting like 3K if we get denied. I don't think we'll see that, but I wouldn't doubt. Like everybody knows it's gonna get pushed back, but then there's still like one Bloomberg article, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's a $500 Bitcoin dump.
Yeah, it'll probably it's the thing, right? It's all about just creating a narrative. Doesn't really mean that's why it happened, but it'll line up and it'll help you it'll help you give a reason to it, right? Create a narrative, and that's it. There's been so many times where it's like you get news come out and it's like, it's not bad news per se. It's kind of just whatever. You would think it would be a non-event, but because of the market we're in, it's it's not the strongest market. It's just an excuse, right? And that's it. Just as bull markets are extremely irrational, so are bear markets. So, the news doesn't always need to make sense that, well, that didn't seem that bad. Why are we dumping? It's just an excuse, pretty much,
There's even that today with like I don't know if you guys saw that article about like Mt. Gox. It wasn't even like a professional. It was like some random website that like was quoting like another Ethereum website or something like that, but that was basically just saying that Mt. Gox is going to give back the Bitcoin that it's owed by like
180K Bitcoin or something like that.
By like Thanksgiving or by like Valentine's Day of next year, and that they heard from a source that everybody was going to sell their Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm sure that's 100% true.
Heard from a source, quotations, wink, wink.
AKA Dale.
AKA, I just wanted to see what I would do to the market by saying this. Wink.
Yeah, it's foolish.
But again, it's a perfect example. It doesn't really need to make sense all the time. It just needs to be a reason to give a narrative, and then it's good.
Somebody asked this earlier in chat. Can we talk about the BCH soap opera for a little bit? I'm not even exactly sure what's happening, but I believe Bitmain and Craig Wright are now feuding.
Oh, God.
Jihan had a tweet recently about fake Satoshi, which was pretty funny.
Oh, God.
Jeez.
Well, Jihan's lost a lot of money, so I think it all goes hand in hand. You start seeing a lot of money go down the drain. You stop being so quick to accept bullshit, and you'll start calling it out. It's like, okay, man, like I'm down this many dollars right now. I am pretty much the force behind it, the mining, all of that, and this is going on.
He's a successful dude, and this IPO has had to have been eye-opening because this is really the first time I think it's all out there for display where anyone can chime in and go, "Oh, your balance sheet sucks because of this," or "You guys made a huge screw up
And it's
last."
all because of BCH.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, Bitmain is going public, so they're raising capital. And the main fault that pretty much everybody has found with their financial documents, which they have to disclose now that they're going public, is that they made a massive investment into BCH or Bitcoin Cash, and they're down like 70-ish% on that.
It was a heavy investment.
So I'm bringing up two on the screen right now, at least on the YouTube channel. BitMEX Research did like an unboxing of the IPO. If anybody's interested in that, I put the link in the comments. Like a really good article about just like the Bitmain IPO and their financials and competition, all that stuff. Pretty legit stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people always ask for like resources for learning about crypto, and that's something I think.
BitMEX,
I mean,
the
I always
research team
forget to
there?
mention, but the BitMEX blog is phenomenal.
Unbelievable. It is probably to me like the best, research group. Like they could charge for some of the stuff that they put out. Like it's good info.
And it's all like pragmatic and smart and like next level thinking. They're not just making surface level observations.
It's not some junior level bullshit, right? Like it's legit. This is what I mean. Like they could easily try and charge people for some of the stuff that they put out, but it's it's impressive. I mean, it's really good. I don't think I've never read one that was like, well, this is a waste of a read. It's always and spot on stuff, right? They really get into it. So yeah, definitely, people listening, keep up to dates with them. They always got interesting stuff coming out.
Totally.
Somebody asked in the chat, talk a little bit about time frames and indicators when you're charting.
Ugh. Indicators are a dime a dozen. So, it's whatever works best for you. I think that's a personal thing.
You're a big Elliott Wave guy, aren't you?
Fuck off.
The biggest.
Time frames. I think time frames are very important. The larger the time frame, the more impact it's going to have. So I think, usually depending on the trade and the length of trade you're thinking of making, you got to take all the time frames into consideration.
Prince,
I know, like
you were Mr. Wyckoff for a while there.
Yeah, I love
like,
Wyckoff. Then it turned into a meme, and I had to stop. It was like, okay, this is getting out of control now with people.
I just remember like every once a week would be like, Prince, what do you think here? And you would just cite some Wyckoff, and you were like, I'm really digging in deep to this Wyckoff. And like by week 4, so I'm thinking like, how deep into Wyckoff can you be? Like, how long have you been researching Wyckoff? Is it that complicated?
Fucking years, man. Like I'll go on spurts of going really into it, and then I'll just kind of chill with it a bit and then go really into it. But like it's not something that I'm just kind of like just randomly started. It's been a few years that I've kind of been studying it and all that. But to me, there's something to be said about when everyone starts seeing the same thing, you should probably be a little concerned. And that kind of you started seeing that a lot. The Wyckoff, it just turned into like a whole. Everybody's got an opinion on it now, and everybody's seeing the same thing. And it's like, well, if everybody's seeing the same thing, I'm a little nervous, And so that to me, and that's like all TA, you kind of got to be cautious because if everybody, again, and it doesn't matter if it's Wyckoff, it doesn't matter if it's just classical charting, like patterns, pennants, wedges, all of that, always be cautious because if it's just that obvious, you could get a nice fake out where it'll break out, you think it's good, and then all of a sudden it just gets retraced hard and it's breaking down. And that's a classic, a breakout, fake out, and dump, something like that, right? Like I think we just saw Ethereum was actually like it looked like it was in a bullish pennant setup, and like the 4-hour time frame, it wasn't too bad looking. And so, there were people going in longs on that, and then it breaks down. Right?
Yeah. Yesterday I was hearing everything about $250 Ethereum, 260 all the way up to like 350, and then that didn't come close.
Exactly, right. It's just and to me, especially in a bear market, you got to be just so cautious of that. And it's one of those things. If everybody is seeing the same thing, if everybody is talking about it, be cautious, because you just don't know. That's called liquidity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right there.
Somebody wants to talk about EOS or EOS. I still don't know whether it's common to say EOS or EOS because I never talked about like this in real life. But
I go
I
EOS.
I don't even fucking keep
EOS has a
track.
nice ring to it. Maybe we should just like let's do that right now. It's EOS. Let's establish.
Isn't that what Phil Ancone was longing today and made $233 or something?
Did he?
Yeah, I think so.
Made a slick $233 today.
I don't really have any strong thoughts on it other than that
I don't
it's
either.
quite centralized, and I think it's sort of like a piggyback on Ethereum as a money grab. I mean, they brought in a ton of money, which if I'm going to use that as a good argument for Tezos, I have to with EOS as well. I think they have a war chest.
They got a fucking war chest, yeah.
They have more than a war chest. They have like $1 bajillion.
Yeah,
They got a
ton of
lot.
money.
I think, I mean, the one thing I think that's like kind of interesting about EOS is like, I mean, first of all, like with the Ethereum dApps, like we really haven't seen anything come to much success outside of a couple like dexes right now. So it's like the whole like dApp model is unproven in and of itself, but then on top of that, you know, the like kind of the level of centralization required for dApps is pretty interesting, and like EOS is, I think, at least right now, more scalable than Ethereum is, because it's centralized to 21 block producers, and you have basically 21 organizations that are controlling that. And within like the first week, there were people they were censoring wallets and transactions and things like that. So there's trade-offs there. But does that like matter or not? And I thought like the one kind of interesting thing about Ethereum versus like EOS was it was that whole like proof of weak hands that like kind of a Ponzi scheme. Maybe it wasn't a Ponzi scheme. Maybe it was like a disingenuous game that was out. But they asked, I think there was like a Slack or Discord group with the developers from like Proof of Weak Hands. And they asked them like, why don't you use like EOS instead? And they're like, because we'd be scared of basically having our app shut down. Whereas that fear really isn't on Ethereum, just because it's not like from like a mining perspective as like centralized.
Right.
So I think it'll be like interesting to see who ends up winning there, if there is like one specific winner. But then it also like dApps have to work too, like not just does it have to be scalable.
Got a lot of bullshit out there right now. It's kind of crazy to think, you know, like IDEX is pretty much the number one, and I don't know, on the scale of money they raised in their ICO, like they compared to others like Bancor, stuff like that, it's just nothing, right? You got, you know, Bancor is up there too. You can see on the dApp radar stuff, and they don't even come close to the kind of action that IDEX gets. You know, I always find it so it's just entertaining to me to look at, because, you know, it's like if you look at different things on the dApps, it's like really IDEX is the one that's doing it, but yet it's so cheap. And you got like, you know, Bancor doesn't even do remotely close to what IDEX is doing at times. And, you know, they raised a lot of money, and they got a market cap that's way up there too compared to IDEX. It's interesting, you know, it's kind of comical to me. It's like you got one that's actually kind of doing something here, trying, you know, and it's just cheap as hell. It's like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, you got it.
Go ahead, Bobby.
I was just gonna say, I think the one like an interesting thing about like, yeah, IDEX is crushing it. And you know, there's a lot of like, you know, you got Bancor and some of these other like decentralized exchanges that are like 10x the value of IDEX. But like one thing I was just kind of like thinking of is like you look back to like Ether Delta or like now Fork Delta 2, and Fork Delta I think is like always number 2 in volume. But like how quickly something like Ether Delta was able to kind of fall off and get replaced by IDEX. So like, and maybe in some cases it almost like makes sense that the valuation of IDEX might not that be high, but at the same point in time, you could still easily make the argument that like Bancor is super, super overvalued in comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. So it's just, to me, it's comical looking at it, because it's like, wow, okay, here we have something that, you know, a product, you know, a dApp that, well, I don't even know if you can fully call it a dApp either, because there's still a lot of centralized features to it, which they kind of need to have to make it efficient. But, you know, you have one that it's pretty much the only one that's doing anything, and it's like one of the cheapest market caps out there out of all these dApps. And, you know, to me, it just kind of goes to show, it's like, wow, okay, so there really is like, there's just the market caps and what they're at, there's just a lot of ridiculous valuations still. You know, when you have IDEX where it is, you know, or Aura, and then Bancor where it is, to me that's a serious like, okay, we got some issues here on these valuations and how people are looking at this stuff and just where things are sitting, and it's kind of scary because it's like, damn, there's a lot of room down still for a lot of this stuff, and that's where people are like, well, most alts are down like 95%. It's like, well,
You go
and
down
they can
99.9%.
yeah, they can still
Yeah.
go down another 90% now from these new recent lows. It doesn't matter. These things, just as they'll go up for what seems like forever sometimes, they will go down what seems like forever sometimes. So
Guys, take a guess at what Doge's market cap is right now.
it's up there. It's probably over 500 million, isn't it?
I'm cheating
Let's
right
say
now.
544.
544. I'm gonna say 750.
725.
Oh, it was
Holy
close.
Almost
shit.
$1 billion for Doge.
It's up
Yeah, it was
100,
higher.
161% in the past month.
Jeez.
Yeah.
There's a
So-
trade that I'm pissed I wasn't in.
Just a quick reminder, Doge has not had a GitHub update in probably 3 years. So there's been zero technical advancement in the coin's protocol. And it's still worth almost $1 billion. So for anybody who doesn't think we can go down further, we can. And the thing is, like you guys said, if you drop 90%, you can drop an additional 90%. It's not like you're capped out at like 100 from the top. I mean, well, technically you are capped out from 100 from the top, but you guys get what I'm saying. Like you can always
Yeah.
fall a further percentage.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's something people aren't taking into account.
Yeah, alts are special. We got people here saying stop fudding. Sorry, guys.
That's still my favorite thing in the world is when somebody calls you a fudder, even if you ask like a halfway decent question. It's my favorite thing. I live for being called a fudder. It breathes life into my awful heart.
The best is going into new project chat rooms and Reddits and things like that. And like, if you say anything that even like is a constructive criticism, you're labeled a fudder. And it's like, oh, this guy's been fudding for months, and like it's completely ridiculous how much these I don't even know the word zealots maybe have convinced themselves that their coin is the next end all be all, and that it is worth $3 billion or whatnot.
But they have the strongest community, remember?
Yes, they all do, of course.
Never fall in love with a shit coin unless it's Tezos. Then it's kind of acceptable. But
Then it's not a shit coin.
yeah, try not to be fully in love, just like half
Maybe.
love or something.
God.
Tezos.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next with them. I think one thing that I am bullish on with Tezos is the sentiment is so bearish, or has been for so long, that any kind of turnaround there is going to be really profound, I think.
Yeah.
Just
Mhm.
because it's been a whipping boy in crypto for a year now, just
Yeah,
people making
I have
fun
no
of it,
doubt
me
that
often
will
at
be
times.
a big return kind of
Face
bag for
melting
people.
pump.
Yeah, when it happens, but the market, I think the market needs to get itself a little chill, just chill out a bit, right? Kind of get comfortable and let it kind of calm down. And I think Tezos will be, come next bull run, whenever, 2020, or when's the next Bitcoin halving? I think it's 2020.
2020.
Yeah. So then Tezos will probably be a big winner. So
Prayers up.
Please.
Rest up, fam. Well, Bobby, thanks. I think we're gonna wrap up, but thanks
Awesome,
for running this stream on your channel. It was good chatting with you.
Yeah.
Big fan of we're all a big fan of what you do, and thanks for
Yeah.
all your support.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys hopping on and allowing me to come on your podcast. It's always awesome to speak with you, even though it's been 9 months. So I know I'm like 75 episodes behind Bully and all the other guys, but maybe one day I'll catch up. But I don't have I'm not an Esquire, so we'll get there.
You're the man, Bobby. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
Bobby. Take care.
Thank you
Take it
very
easy,
much,
guys.
dude.
Thanks everyone for listening. Peace out.
Later.